let's go ahead and continue talking about the performance of the car and how it's been in terms of handling and power. So I haven't really gotten the chance to race anybody. I did get the chance to race a Camaro in this car. I think it was an RS, it was a V6. And I think the car was an automatic. So it was probably maybe, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years old. But the reason I think the car was an automatic was because when we were on the highway, I think we were like at a 40, we're doing a 40 roll and honked the horn 3 times. I gunned it, and there was like a split second where, you know, it took the Camaro essentially a split second for the engine to then jump up in RPM or shift down and then get going. And by that time, I was already basically gone by that time. So, not gone literally, but I was way ahead by that time. So I'm not too sure if it really was a race or if, you know, maybe the guy just didn't hear the horn or something. And then once I took off, he took off, and that's where the delay came from. But that's really the only chance I've gotten to try to put this car up against anything, so I can't really speak in terms of how fast it is. I would like to get out to the track one night and see what, you know, the stock numbers hold, and it's probably going to be somewhere around 14, 15 seconds, I would guess. Maybe even 16, I don't know, maybe 16 is pushing it, but it's probably going to be pretty high up there. What I've been really impressed with in this car, though, is how it handles. It feels really good, like a really well-balanced car, and the independent rear suspension also helps that a lot in terms of handling. So I've been really impressed with this because I've driven the car spiritedly a few times, and each time I drive the car, I get more comfortable in terms of driving this car, you know, fast around corners, which is really cool because that's what I want this car, where I want this car to perform. I'm not trying to, in terms of modifying it, which I want to do, I don't want this car to be a drag car by any means. I'm not looking to try to achieve, you know, 4-digit horsepower number or anything like that out of this car, or try to make this a 10-second car by any means. I want this car to shine on the track. That's what I kind of want to make from this car, is something that is track capable, but at the same time also able to be daily driven. So essentially, probably what you're thinking is you want a GT350, and yeah, I guess I want a GT350, but I can't afford a GT350, so this is what I got. So hopefully, as time goes on, I'll be able to modify this vehicle to perform a lot better. But in terms of how it handles as it currently is, like I said, it handles really good. It's a super comfortable ride, and then you also try to push it around corners, and you can really, you know, push this car nicely, and it performs really well. And like I said, it's probably it's probably because of the independent rear suspension that this car now has, which just improves the handling by, you know, that much, which is really cool. So with that being said, like I said, I want to modify this car, and I want to modify it in a way where I can, you know, turn it into a track machine, but also keep it as a daily driver with all the amenities that this vehicle currently has. And, you know, so with that, of course, there's going to be sacrifices here and there in order to really make this car, you know, a hybrid between those two things. But until that time comes, we'll only see what's able to come out of it. But what I'm trying to make, or what I'm trying to lead into, is that I want to make this car a track car, but the reason I've put off on already trying to modify the vehicle, which I've already looked at various parts that I want to put on the car, but the reason I haven't really tried doing that yet is because I think that the best investment you can make in terms of becoming, or turning your car and being behind the wheel of essentially a race car, right, is investing in yourself. And what I mean by that is investing in drive time. So driving the car as it is and pushing it to the limit, and trying to figure out where the bar for that limit stands, and just trying to understand your car and really, wow, that is a horrible accident. 2 cars went into somebody's yard. That's horrible. But anyways, what I'm trying to say from this is that I'm trying to invest in myself first. So I'm trying to learn about myself as a driver, and I'm trying to learn more about this car to understand where it really lacks and where I lack as well. So I'm trying to figure out my strengths and weaknesses, and I'm trying to learn more about pushing a car to the limit, and there's definitely a lot more room for improvement. And I think that is the best investment that you can make in terms of modifying. First is try to figure out what you want your car to be. So what I'm trying to say is, first, you want to try to figure out what you want your car to be, or where you want your car to perform in. So do you want to make a drag machine, or a track machine, or a drift machine, or a rally machine, something like that. Figure out where you want your car to be, and then figure out what it takes to pilot a car like that. And so, like I said, I want this car to perform well in terms of a track setting. So, I'm trying to figure out what it takes to basically pilot a track car. And since I want this car to kind of be like my track car, then I want to spend as much time trying to figure out, like I said, where this car lacks and where I lack, so that when it comes down time to make a modification to the vehicle, it's a modification that is going to enhance the performance of the car in such a way that allows me, the driver, to also utilize that part in such a way that it's actually beneficial and it's actually doing something to the performance and, I guess, driving skill that I have. That didn't really make any sense, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Basically, what I'm saying is, there's no reason to, for me at least, right now, there's no reason for me to try to lower the car or put some sort of suspension parts on the car when I don't even know how to utilize those parts 100% of the way. So if I could utilize it, for just as an example, if I could utilize this car and I knew how to push this car to the limits, and I could figure out, and it's like, oh, okay, the springs on this car, the rate is hindering my ability to push the car faster around the corners, or it's giving me understeer, oversteer, I don't know, whatever. I don't really know the whole mechanics behind it, but if I get to a point where I can finally say this part or whatever it is hindering my ability to really push the car more and be faster, then that's enough to justify, okay, upgrade the part, but now you have something to base that upgrade off of, because now you know where you lack, and now you know what you need to really push the car where you want it to be. So if let's just say right now, I'm driving the car and I really don't know much. I'm an inexperienced driver in terms of driving in a sport-like setting, and I lower the car, so okay, that's okay, but the parameters in terms of the suspension and the geometry and the center of gravity have been changed in such a way that now I have to learn that, of course, but it does me no benefit to lower the car when I still have no idea how to even push that suspension 100% of the way. And does that suspension help me or not help me? The only way to really determine that is to figure out what your current setup is and understand how your current setup performs, so that when you upgrade that part to something else, you can really then determine as to whether that part is now helping you or hurting you, if that makes sense. I apologize for the awkward transition between the previous scene and this scene. So unfortunately, my camera died midway through filming the previous scene, so I didn't get to, you know, obviously film the rest of what I wanted to say. But I went back and I started looking through the previous video to see what I could salvage from it, and I realized that I kind of went off on a rant, and instead of reviewing the car, I started talking more about myself in terms of where I want to be with the car and where I want the car to be also. So to kind of end this video, I just want to summarize what I was trying to get at in the previous scene, which is in terms of keeping the EcoBoost stock. So basically, if you just want to buy the EcoBoost as it is, buying the base model, you're buying a pretty good car for what you're spending on it. Are there better options in terms of the suspension components out there compared to the EcoBoost Mustang? Probably. But if you're like me and you like the Mustangs and you want a Mustang, what you're getting for what you're paying for the base model is a really good car. You're getting a car that has sufficient amount of power to have fun in it, and you're also getting a car that handles great, so you can really have a lot of fun on the weekends or whatever you're going to use the car for. And if you want to go out and drive through canyons and or twisty roads and stuff like that, of course, being very careful, you know, this car is suitable for that. However, if you're going to keep the car stock, I will recommend that you try to get as many upgrades for the EcoBoost Mustang that you can. That way you get pretty much the best available Mustang that you can afford from the factory, and you can just keep it like that. And so you can get your upgraded wheels and the upgraded radio unit, and if you can, go into getting the Magna-Ride suspension. But I think at that point you are venturing into the, you know, base price of the GT and probably even more. So, you know, again, there comes that question as to whether you want the GT or you want the EcoBoost Mustang. But of course, you know, like I said, the EcoBoost Mustang is a great car. So, you know, if you're happy with, you know, not, you know, if you're okay with not having a V8, this car is definitely, you know, it's definitely a great car to have in terms of power and handling. So more along the lines where I'm headed with this car, which is in terms of a modifying aspect, I think the best place to start for the EcoBoost Mustang is the base model. And the reason I say that is because in terms of modifying a vehicle, you know, I've looked online and I've seen some wheels for the Mustang, which is the performance pack wheels or the premium wheels or whatever. I think it's the performance pack wheels. And you know, why are you gonna buy a car that comes upgraded from the factory with nice wheels just to take them off to put something else on it? You know, you're overpaying for a car that you didn't intend to really, you know, keep the way it was. So you're, you know, if you finance the car, you finance a car that came with wheels, and yeah, you're still paying for those wheels even though you took them off. So it's kind of like a waste of money. So if you're going to modify the car and you plan on, you know, putting aftermarket wheels on it or anything else, you know, if you buy the EcoBoost Mustang with Magna-Ride suspension, but you're also somewhere along the lines going to change that suspension, you're just wasting your money. So I think the base EcoBoost Mustang is the best place to start in terms of modifying. That way you're not spending, you know, more money on parts that you don't intend to keep on the car, and you can just get the car as it comes standard. And so when it comes time to upgrade those parts, then you just, you know, you take them off and you don't feel, you know, or you're not essentially wasting your money. I guess to some degree, I mean, the car has to come with wheels, right? So to some degree, you're still wasting your money in a way, but at least in terms of buying upgraded parts, you're not wasting more money in that aspect, if that makes sense. So, you know, like I said, just to basically hit it home again, from a modifying aspect, you know, you are, and a stock aspect, you are getting a great car for what you're paying for the base model EcoBoost. If you're going to keep it stock, try to get as many upgrades as you can. If you're going to modify it, start with the base EcoBoost and then go from there. So let's go ahead and just stop this video here and end this already long video and video series, because this is a two-part. If you haven't seen the first part, go back and watch it. Hopefully you can get something from it in terms of, you know, the EcoBoost Mustang, and hopefully it'll help you with making the purchase or learning a little bit more about what it's been like to own this EcoBoost Mustang for about 2 months, and hopefully it can make your decision as to what you want to go, or hopefully it can help you make your decision as to what you want to go for. So yeah, you know, if there's something I didn't touch on that you were kind of curious about, and you kind of want somebody who's a perspective from someone who has owned the Mustang for, you know, not a long time, it's only been 2 months, but you know, I have driven this car pretty much every single day since then. So if you want a perspective on something that I didn't talk about, leave a comment down below. I'll get back to you. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way, you know, I have plans for more videos to come. I am in the process of getting ready to purchase my first mod for this vehicle, so I'll review and install that. So stay tuned. Hopefully you like the videos. If they're a bit cringy, I know they are my first videos that I've ever made. So yeah, anyways, we'll go ahead and just end the video there. Thanks for watching.